My name is Joshua Holmes. I am 42, going to be 42 next week. I've had epilepsy my whole life. Um, all kinds. They seem to pick and choose as life goes. My mom noticed that I stared off when I was a kid, and then it was like 4 years later when I was diagnosed officially with a different kind of seizure as they developed. They went from focal to more generalized. And I've had generalized, I had it for the next several years. Went on a roller coaster after a brief hiatus, and they came back, and then that's when we went on a 3-year search for like an answer, and keto was briefly mentioned, but ultimately John Hopkins, after we had gone to every hospital around the country, finally said that brain surgery was the only option. We didn't get to the point of surgery, or even the diet for that matter, until we had tried every medicine basically on the market. The barbitals, the I want to say the Depakine, Tegretol, Lamictal, and they all had side effects, but bottom line, they just didn't work. We were told prior to the surgery that I potentially could lose half of my motor skills on my one side, and that I would potentially have to do a whole year's worth of physical rehab to get it all back. There was a possibility that I could lose sight up top. And we went in, and it turned out that I had a mass of 3 veins instead of 1 vein like your normal person has a regular single cortical mass down the center. I guess I have a chunk. And they had to do a hemispherectomy with some excess left over, which then resulted in a loss of sight to the right in each eye. So I have half my sight. And it also took half the sensory. I have half my sense in my left side. So those were 2 big surprises that occurred when they took out the, is it the left half? The right half. And now I operate on a single half. And my sense is just like that on my right side. Everything else is normal. But it was a big loss, and it didn't fix the seizures. They got worse. So it ended up being one test of a million to try to fix it. And I just remember waking up, and my dad was leaning over me, crying, trying to ask me if I could see him, and I couldn't see him. So we went brain surgery, and then things actually exacerbated, excuse me. the situation. Seizures changed, and from generalized to even more violent grand mals. And ever since, it's just been kind of a experiment to try to figure things out. I ended up having 4 of those over the next several years. Every 3 minutes for 2 minutes, it sends off an electrical impulse to your brain to negate, I guess, a negative charge to negate a positive charge, or vice versa, something like that. My final one actually burst, or the battery leaked, and that was perhaps one of the most traumatizing events that I've been through. My parents had to pull over, and I was throwing up, and at like 1 o'clock in the morning, we finally had my neurologist turn it off, and I had it taken out the next day. I think that was my last one, needless to say. So the vagus nerve didn't work for me. And that's where I'm really at today with medicine. I got to a point where I said to the neurologist, I'm now 40 years old, and I don't want to be experimented on anymore. And that was when I more actively sought the diet route. Not being able to see is definitely a challenge. I mean, socially, and just living out in the world is you're kind of confined to a half space, no matter where you are, and that it does add to how easily it is to get around and function. But I've done it, and it's the big thing is that not being able to see on the right side adds to the shock factor when your brain doesn't send messages to see. It also contributes to the seizures. So it's been a real adaptation process to grow accustomed to what's not there, and the stimulation that occurs even though I can't see it. And I think I've had a lot more seizures as a result of not having control over that blind spot. And it's never really been addressed. So yeah, in terms of the eyes, as far as the sensory stuff, I've learned to grow accustomed to it. I am different.